Welcome to Northeast Iowa Crop Report. My name is Nick Benson. Here I'm standing between Elkader and West Union, Iowa, and wanted to give you an update on tar spot specifically. So lots of talk on tar spot and what's going on with tar spot out in the country. And so want to let you know what I'm seeing, how the disease works, and what we can do to mitigate that risk. So first off, the number one thing I'm seeing is it is absolutely everywhere. I've seen it every field that you're in Fayette County or Northeast Iowa. I'm seeing tar spot. So it's definitely one of those diseases that is everywhere we look. So let's talk about the disease. What are we looking at? So one is it's super easy to identify. Easiest identifiable corn disease that there is. So it literally looks like you took a brush, dipped it in tar, and flecked it on the leaf. So if we look at this, here are the lesions. So this is the black tar spot lesions. And then here is the tar spot lesion with what we call a necrotic circle around it. And the common name for that is fisheye lesion. And that is part of the nuances to this plant. So what this does when it's at this stage is it will spread more rapidly. So tar spot is a polycyclical fungus. What that means is we may get infested one time and then it'll continue to reinfest as it moves its way up and down the plant. And so what is the optimum conditions for tar spot? So temperature is 65 to 68 degrees with 7 hours of free moisture on the leaf. And that's when these stromata will fruit and they'll spread and they'll start infecting the leaf. So a couple of things. Where'd it come from? How did we even get to it? How come we've never talked about tar spot before? So what's really unique about tar spot is it was always in Mexico. So it was always a Mexican disease. We never saw it in North America, or never saw it in North America. And so in 2015, there was a weather event that spores actually traveled while it was fruiting in Mexico, traveled up in the jet stream, landed in the Midwest. They noted it, the breeders didn't really think much of it. First off, they thought it was actually going to not overwinter because it was always in Central America. It did overwinter, never really did any damage though. And then in 2018, we saw a tremendous amount of tar spot over in the Platteville, Lancaster area. That had us pay attention way closer. Then it wasn't a big disease of concern, 19, 20, 21. It hit really hard in Indiana and Illinois. Here we are, 2022, it's everywhere. So what are the impacts of it? The risk is because of that spores that can fruit and are polycyclical. So once it gets infested, which every field's infested, then it can spread real rapidly into the canopy and shut down our plant. And what that needs is that free moisture on the leaf, and specifically a real long rainy day. That's when we'll get a tremendous amount of spreading. So in Northeast Iowa, what I'm seeing is we are definitely seeing some tar spot doing some damage. We are not at a epidemic or a proportion that's widespread doing a tremendous amount of yield. Some fields have been hit really hard and are dying earlier, may take a little bit off the top, but none of this 50 to 60 bushels. So how do we manage this disease? So there's two main things that I'm seeing that is really beneficial. One would be genetic resistance. So there's really been no breeding for it because it's new, but there are some products that are just more naturally resistant to it. For us, 5610, Federal Hybrids 5610 Power Corn List, definitely very resistant to it. And I'm seeing some very large differences in genetics as far as how it's tolerating that. So genetic diversity is a big deal. And then the second thing that I would say the jury has somewhat been out in the past or out on is if fungicide makes a difference. I am sure now, after living through 2022 season, fungicide does make a difference. So if we look at this field in particular, this field is corn on corn, been corn on corn for 4 or 5 years. It was sprayed with the fungicide. And when we look at this canopy, we see tar spot but we do not see a lot of those necrotic fisheye lesions like I pointed out before. There's one there. If this field was not sprayed with fungicide, you would have seen this disease progressing way more up into the canopy, and then we would have had that interact with, we have some northern corn leaf spot or northern corn leaf blight and other diseases, and then we can get a real rapid shutdown of canopy. If we look in this hybrid, if you look at it, we have great fill going on. We've got great ear set, especially for fourth year corn on corn. And a lot of that was because he made the decision to put fungicide to keep this plant going, to keep it filling its kernels. So we see it all over the plant. You actually will see it all the way onto the husk. So see those, where are we at here? No, those are aphids. Here we go. Those are aphids. Scratch that. You can see it on the husks. Here we go. So there we see it on the husks. You can actually see it on the leaf sheath all the way up the leaves. So that's tar spot. We definitely need to think about managing for it with hybrid selection, and I'm definitely recommending fungicides in the future as we continue to get a handle on this pest. So that's what I'm seeing right now in Northeast Iowa, specifically in regards to tar spot. My name is Nick Benson with Benson Ag Solutions Federal Hybrids. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it.